So a little introduction, my background, quantitative economic decision science major from UCSD, been in the business for decades, Orange County native, Cap Valley High School grad, 9 kids. I brought the 6 in the right, my wife brought the 2 in the upper left, I adopted her, she adopted mine, and Zeke, he turns 5 next week. He's not that cute, he calls me dude. He's always calling me dude or bruh. I said bro once, he goes, it's bruh. He corrected me, he's 4. So we've been all over the press. And our company's Reports in Housing, your local real estate snapshot. We want to help you have the power and the strength of knowing what's going on, especially in this marketplace when it's changing so often. You need that data. So that is what we provide. So you have a total leg up. It is meant to cut through all of the noise, plenty of noise out there. And it's, just setting expectations. It's not looking at closed sales data, because closed sales data is so old, I can hardly care less. Things are changing so fast that you cannot look at closed sales data. We look out the windshield, and we're looking at supply and demand. Supply, available number of homes, demand, snapshot of pending sales, recent pending sales, 30 days. So I can tell you what's going on based upon that really fast. And then from supply and demand, we have expected market time. Not a fan of days on the market at all. I don't utilize the statistic at all. I do have expected market time. You place your home on the market when you open up escrow. It can change on a dime, and it's changing really fast right now. So, and we'll get into that. So our reports are used for your buyer and seller consultations, price reductions. That definitely, we had a lot of price reductions from the last year. Get buyers off the fence, stop talking about the most ridiculous things that they like to talk about, like Great Recession all over again, or worse than the Great Recession. And it's also about just closing more transactions, once again, by setting expectations. And we have reports all over SoCal. This time I really am close to finishing this Bay Area report. I've been saying it forever. Last year was such a hard year that I never really had the time. So now I'm doing very limited number of presentations so I can get it actually finished and done. So sluggish intro to 2023. These are so far what the reports have been all about. That's called a normal market. At the beginning of the year, the way it feels sluggish is it's supposed to feel that way for the first 2 weeks of the year. You're supposed to take vacations in December and the first couple weeks of January. And then it's turning up the heat. That was at the end of January. Talked about what the winter market's all about. We'll get into what that is. Housing's starting to flex. I put this together. I had some hate mail, some hate emails and things like that came at me. It's like, I'm not making this stuff up. It's like they're saying, well, this is just some pent-up New Year's resolution demand. Don't follow that. I just look at the data and report it because I'm geeky. I listened to a podcast on the way here all about economics and housing because it's fun. And who subscribes to the report in this room? So quite a few hands actually subscribe to this report. I love what I do. Thank you for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, you should subscribe. Because everybody expects you to be the expert. That's the bottom line. And you really can articulate what's going on before anybody else is talking about it. What I'm talking about is what the closed sales and the papers are going to talk about in another 60 days from now. So you want to talk about what's going on in the here and now.
90 days.
Yeah, 90 days. I have an economic model, and it's a progression model because there's new data that comes in all the time. There's new data that came January. Anybody see that new data in January? Sure, everybody's aware of that, especially if you are in lending, and that was the jobs report. When that jobs report came out, all of us economists, a collective sigh, had to go back to the drawing board and try to figure out exactly what's going on. We had to peel that thing apart and listen to everybody's analysis of it. And we'll get into that. Reportsonhousing.com, that's where you go to subscribe. And it's $50 per month, $150 per year. You get a month free if you sign up utilizing, I have these here with me today. They'll go home with my person. We'll get you it, and then we'll shred it. It's all about rates. So 2022 is all about rates, right? We saw that. 2020 and 2021, it was all about rates. We were zooming fast, right? We were going at a ridiculous, unhealthy speed, where it was bound to crash sometime. And then along came inflation, and nobody liked it, and especially the Fed didn't like it, because that's one of their mandates is to get inflation under control. So they came out swinging. At the beginning of the year, they were doing like ballet, tiptoeing all over the place, and not really saying much. And then they kept changing their tune as the year progressed. They kept on saying, we're going to go here, then we're going to go here, then we're going to go here. And it kept changing until right around August is where everybody believed them. And that was when they came out of Jacksonville, Wyoming, a little 8-minute speech, no Q&A, because he's horrible at Q&As, and then dropped the mic. And that's Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve. They really mean business. And I'll give you an update as to what one of them said based upon the job report in a moment. So they've been changing the Fed funds rate. They've changed it at a tune of 19-fold. They're now went from 0 to 0.25 now to 4.5 to 4.75. That is a 19-fold increase. And it was the biggest increase of all time from start of the year to the end of the year as far as change in interest rates. You're probably looking at this. People like to compare it to the 80s or the 70s. We had inflation for decades prior to that. So it was entrenched. It's not the same thing. You cannot compare it. We like to, we try to, and it does not follow or jive with the way that the data works. Everybody's trying to stick it, and I just said, forget it. You just cannot do it. It's like everything since the pandemic. We do not know how everything is going to play out. It's a lot of uncertainty. So 2022 is all about rising rates, and rates went from 3.25 at the start of the year. Remember those days? People ask me if we're going to have interest rates at 3. Not anytime soon. 3.25 to 7.37%. We were in the 7s in October and November. So this is a great chart, though. Seriously, let me explain it to you. This is Len Kiefer. We hang out on Twitter, all of us economists, and this is where the rates were at the beginning of the year. It starts off at 0. This is the change in interest rate every single year. Each of those lines is a year from start to finish. And you can see in 2022 is the biggest change in interest rate from the start of the year to the end of the year since they've been tracking. And this goes back to 1971. Very important for you to understand. We were following 1981, which everybody was, I didn't think we were going to hit it until Jackson Hole in August. I go, we're going to hit it. And we did. And we beat it. And then 1981, we actually went into a pretty big recession. And then in 1982, you see what happened with interest rates. They came back down. So, but you can't even compare that to where we're at today, because we had interest rates back then that went all the way up to 18%. So yes, it did go down 4%, but it went from 18 to 14%. Way, way different. Can't compare the two. So, but know that when you have that big of a change in interest rates, it's like just jamming the brake pedal. It really changed our marketplace like really, really fast. So inflation's an issue, but we were at a very good place for a long time at 2. It even got below 2 during the pandemic. And then for 18 months, it slowly but surely cranked up higher and higher until we peaked up at the top of that red where we were above 9% for headline inflation. This is CPI. Comes out next week. I can't wait. If it's another dumb report, we are in trouble. Just know that. So that report at the end of last week was kind of a dumb report, but we're still trying to figure out what that was all about. But this is headline inflation. Core is the blue. The blue strips out, it's just a basket of goods, but it removes the volatility of food and fuel. And when you do that, it's been going down for 3 months straight, and that is a real trend. And it should continue to go down, and I'm hoping goes down faster than what they're anticipating. And but know that it took 18 months to get up there, right? Going from where they want to be to all the way up there, all the way up to 9%. It's going to take about 18 months for it to come back down. So we've had 3 months so far of that downward velocity. And this is shelter. These are all the basket of goods and all that stuff. This is shelter. This is the line for shelter. And you see shelter, we know it's negative right now. The problem is there's a giant lag in it. The good news is the Fed knows that there's a lag in it, so they're not even talking about shelter. Even though part of the CPI, it's kind of ridiculous. It's been going up and up. Even in December, it was going up, even though we all know intuitively rents and everything else along shelter has been going down. Household formation, everything. So services, on the other hand, that's the area that everybody, including myself, care about the most. And that is because we have a really strange job market. Very strange. As a matter of fact, I just added the slide. That's what I was doing when I first got here, because I I did a live today and I put the slide up there. That's because we added 517,000 jobs. We were supposed to add less than 200,000 jobs, but yet it was 517,000. It was such a blow to what we were all doing that we saw what happened to interest rates, right? They're at 5.99%. We got below 6% for the first time since September for a minute. And then this thing came, and then we shot all the way up to almost 6.5%. in a very short period of time because we were all digesting this going, what in the world is going on? So, and unemployment fell to 3.4%. You know what's so interesting about 3.4%? I was about 4 months old when the last time we were there. It was in 1969 that unemployment was at 3.4%. Does that sound recessionary at all to you? It doesn't. It's not recessionary. I know in this room that we've all had a different kind of year last year, but just because we're having that does not make it a recession. This tells me that we still have a problem. And we have a problem because the number of job openings increased all the way to back to 11 million job openings. It's almost back to, with the unemployment rate and job openings where it's at, it's almost 2 to 1. 2 jobs for every job seeker. That is way too much pressure on employment. The good news is salaries aren't going up as fast as what they thought would happen if that happens, which is kind of good news, but this cannot continue. So that's why they're trying to get a lid on this, because that causes inflation. You could see it with they're trying to cover shifts at McDonald's and they'll pay you double time. So it's like $30 an hour to flip hamburgers and make French fries. And if they're going to be paying that much, they're going to have to charge you more for your Big Mac. And that's the problem. So what we have is we have inflation based upon the quick rise in wages. So we'll have to be careful with that. It's something that they'll watch. People talk about wage price spiral all the time. Know that that's not happening right now today. They want the overall economy to slow down. Now, our market could go in one of 3 ways. And this is probably how I probably should have forecasted it, because and I have a better handle on everything now that I've listened to so many different people. There's 3 different doors we can go down. Door number 1 was before it was about a 10% chance, and that is where the economy is too strong. Now I'm going to lift that thing from 10 to 15%. So there's about a 15% chance of the economy being too strong. It's very hard for it to be super strong when we've done all those short-term rate changes, because there's a lot of businesses that borrow money and they have not had, they have these low interest rates. They'll have to reborrow money down the road, and it'll be at a much higher interest rate. And at that point, that's where it'll be absorbed in the economy. It takes time for all of these rate changes that the Federal Reserve has done to actually make a difference in our economy. So just because we haven't seen it yet, that's why I really don't think that this is going to happen. It's just going to take time. If we have too strong of an economy, we can see interest rates between 6.5% to 7.5%. This is not where I think we're going to go, but that's because they're going to have to ratchet up the federal funds rate even further. And right now, we have already absorbed in the system what they did last week, that quarter point. There's going to be another quarter point. It's already absorbed in the system, which is why rates don't go up when the federal funds rate goes up. That's just a short-term rate. Immediately, automobile loans, credit card debt, and equity line of credits go up, but not 30-year mortgages. As a matter of fact, last week, what did we see? They went down all the way to below 6% for the first time since September. So. But if they change this and they say, okay, the federal funds rate, they're right now saying it's going to be between 5 and 5.25. Now they might say we want it to be up at 6. If they say that, we can watch rates go up higher. That's only if we have too robust of an economy, which I don't think is the direction that we're going. I still think we're going to go into a recession. Now, Neil Kashkari, who is one of the Fed presidents, I had to add this today. He was asked in a Q&A with CNBC about the job report, and he basically said, you're right, loosening financial conditions does make our jobs harder to bring the economy into balance. All things being equal, that means we'd have to do more with our tools. It had caused me to say we need to do more with the federal funds rate, because then he was asked further, so what are you going to do? What tools are you talking about? He's talking about this. So he's talking about ratcheting up the federal funds rate. So that's Neil, one of the Fed presidents. That's exactly what he's saying. It's just a group of Fed presidents that get together, and that's the Federal Reserve Board. And but they're a lot of talk until the market economy really starts to slow down. So just know that. Door number 2 is they're going to thread the needle. I think it's very hard for them to thread the needle. I already told you that it's going to take time for the economy to slow down based upon all the rate changes. So, but there's more people feeling confident that we're going to thread the needle. I still don't think we're going to do this. I actually give this about a 15% chance of happening. And 5.75% to 6.5% is where we would be with threading the needle. That means that we avoid going into a recession. And most likely door number 3. That's where we go into a recession. And it's the second to third quarter of this year. And I don't even call it a recession. I was listening to Mark Zandi from Moody Economics today. That was on the way here. And it wasn't him because he only thinks there's a 50-50 chance of a recession. It's his other colleague who actually got the URL for it, slow session. I love that term. It's going to be a slow session, not a recession. It's not going to be as deep as as a normal recession because we're not going to have the major job loss. So if we don't have a lot of job loss, that means that we're sitting in a pretty good spot. And then we're going to have interest rates all the way from 4.75% to 5.75%. And you're wondering, how in the world can we get to 4.75%? I'll tell you in a second. But every time we go into recession, even if it's a slow session, we have mortgage rates go down. So that is what happens when we have those recessions. Now the 10-year Treasury, I had to update this because I have to update it all the time because it's doing something funky. Right there, I don't even think I have it, darn it, I don't. There should be a black arrow right there pointing that. You could see we were in that little valley right there on the right-hand side, and that little valley is when we got down to 5.99% for 1 minute. And then we got our Friday jobs report, and it shot up, and then Monday came around and shot up, and then today started off negative and then went up a little bit. So we had interest rates, like I said, it just bounced at that 6% line. We can't get under 6%. And then this is where we are, right? 6.45%. Actually, I think today it's 6.39%. I did not update the slide, so it went down a little bit. But still, we're bouncing between 6 and 6.5%. That's where we are until if we get CPI, then we can bounce above 6.5% if it comes in where it doesn't come down enough, or if it comes down more than expected, we could finally get underneath of 6%. So we'll have to see what happens next week. So, but I do want to point out something because of the volatility and all the risk that's out there, and really the servicers and lenders are apprehensive about giving out loans because they think that everyone's going to refinance once rates go down, right? So there's a lot of risk in the system. This is the 10-year Treasury and 30-year mortgages. Going back in time, like about 55 years, it's been this. It's right around the same, typically right at 1.7%. So whatever the 10-year is, 1.7% above that is what our mortgages should be. However, this is where we are today. That's same. See, that's 1.7. It's nearly double what it normally is. It was at 3 for a little while. But where should interest rates be today? A full percent lower. They should be a full percent lower, but because there's so much risk in the system and they think that rates are going to come down, that they are charging extra. That's why if you pay a point, your rate is so much better right now because you're taking out the risk, you're giving them money up front. Anytime you give a lender money up front, it's going to help you out in a volatile market like this. So I hope that helps. Oh, and by the way, these 3-2-1, 2-1 buy downs, that you hear about. You know what the percentage of all the loans across the United States are of those buy downs? 3%. 3% of all loans are the 3-2-1, 2-1 buy downs. And that's actually a big increase. It was nearly nothing prior. So that's just a little bit of an increase. The housing market, we have 5 seasons in the marketplace for real estate. Spring is the number 1 season. And spring is the number 1 season because it involves the families. People transact all year long, except in the spring, more families come online because they want to put their home on the market in spring or buy a home in spring and close when? During the summertime when the kids are out of school. So spring is number 1, and that's when we have the most demand and the most number of homes coming on the market. Then we have summer's number 2. Autumn's number 3, winter is number 4. The slowest season is the holidays. You guys just experienced it. That was a slow season, and now we're starting to ramp up from that. And we are in winter right now. Winter is where supply does not change much. Typically it goes up a little bit, but not this year. It can actually go down, and this year it's really going down. It's following the 2021 direction. Demand surges at the same time. We get to Super Bowl and we tell everybody, you got to get in, it's so good. And they say, I don't want to get in because it's not yet spring and my kids are still in school. So that's why they want to wait. But we'll still tell them that the market is really strong come Super Bowl, because that's what we do as an industry. Supply versus demand, they're duking it out. Low supply favors sellers, low demand favors buyers. But low demand is actually increasing right now. And supply its demand's increasing right now. Low supply is actually decreasing. So the buyer's grip on the marketplace right now is actually beginning to abate. And we're dealing with the housing shortage. I've got to change the slide. I'm actually calling it a housing crisis again, because we don't have enough homes. And we still don't have enough homes. We should have, if you see this is January of 2019, or actually the start of February 2019. We were at 817,000 homes. It actually went down within the last 2 weeks. We're at 457,000 homes across the United States. And it's been going down. It was finally going to look like it was going to start to go up, which it normally does at the end of January, but then it went down over the last 2 weeks. And then Orange County active listing inventory. This is where we are. I go around to all the rest of Southern California. I have to actually show them the slide because their slides begin right here. So they only see those Himalayas on the right. They don't see these. This is Mount Everest. And Mount Everest was the Great Recession. This is why we're not going to have a Great Recession. We just don't have homes on the market, period. We don't have an inventory. The Fed wanted to bring supply and demand in better balance. They're not doing it. They're doing a horrible job if that was what their goal is, because right now they're precluding a lot of homeowners from even placing their homes on the market at this point. But over here in 2006, we had 16,000 homes on the market and 18,000 in 2007. I still have people tell me, you never saw the Great Recession coming. They haven't been following me for that long, but you can see a Mag truck when it's coming straight at you and through your windshield. That's pretty much how it looked. And that's because there are way too many homes on the market. And right now there is nothing on the market. So the active listing inventory following 2021 to a T, just a little bit less. We're one of the only counties that actually has less homes on the market than 2021. It's only 2022 that beat where we are today. And know that these numbers are unfathomable. They're so low. I have never seen anything like it before. The lowest ever prior to the pandemic was 3,150 in 2013, and I thought that was ridiculous, and we've been playing lower than that. So on February 2nd, last Thursday, we were at 2,415. It was down 5% or down 121 homes in a 2-week period of time. And last year we were at 1,270, 47% less. We had nothing on the market last year. We had so few homes on the market that it actually ate into the number of escrows that we had. San Diego was even worse than where we were. 3-year average, 4,695. That's 94%, almost double where we are today is where we should be right now. The 3-year average I'm talking about is 2017, 18, 19 prior to the pandemic. So we should have double the number of homes on the market. I looked at it today, we're at 2337, so it's continuing to go down another 3% in the last week. So it's going the wrong direction. And the inventory looks like it's going to continue to go down until we get to around April, and then I'm hoping that it does this. But if interest rates do not go down, or if they start to go up a little bit, it's just going to preclude more homeowners from placing their homes on the market, and then we'll get something like this, which is not what I'm rooting for, where we might get right up to where we were last year and then come down, and it was just this weird year. So we're just going to have to wait to see how it all plays out. It just depends upon mortgage rates. And this is the number of price reductions across the United States, detached homes. It's at 33%. It's the same for Orange County. You could see this is coming down pretty rapidly because we're placing more homes on the market, and there aren't that many homes that are available, and there are buyers right now that are finally getting involved, and they're just saying they want to purchase something. So we're seeing the number of price reductions actually drop. And there are a lot of overpriced properties. That's why we have price reductions, right? So, and I had this made. I'm sure you guys have seen my, where is that thing? It's my little sign writer. Yes, this is perfect. This is actually what you want to use when you have a marketing proposal. your presentation with the seller, because you want to put it down and say, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, Stephen Thomas told me to bring this because we cannot end up overpriced, because we'll throw away money. We'll flush money down the toilet, and I don't want to do that. I want to come out of here with the exact right price so we can sell. And we have to sell quickly, because if we stay in the market for a long period of time, we're going to have to reduce the asking price over and over again, and you're going to net less. So we can't end up overpriced. So, yes, overpriced. And matter of fact, do not brag about getting in and out of a listing presentation in 1 hour and getting a listing. Who cares? I really don't care. I want to know that you got that thing priced right so that you're on the market for only 7 days and then go into escrow. So take 3-4 hours. And because here's what it's all about. I was finally able to do it. I knew I was going to be able to do it once we got to October, because all that froth was gone out of the system. And this is all closed sales in the month of October. This takes a lot of work, so that's why I don't do this every single month. And that is the number of price, this is closed sales in October, no price reduction. 57% of all sales did not have a price reduction. And they got 99% sales to list price ratio, only 1% off. And don't worry about median sales price. I just show you that because it's the same. It does not matter what price point it is. Median days on market, 9 days. So you're on the market for 9 days. So doesn't it make sense to price it right? Because if you had to reduce it, and these are only success stories, 1 to 4%, 17%, they got 97.5%, which means that they just threw away 1.5%. On a $1 million home, that's throwing away 15 grand. And it took them 43 days. If they had to reduce it by 5% or more, that was 26% of all closed sales, 1 out of every 4. They got 96.4%. They just threw away another 10 grand. So now they're down $25,000 because they're knuckleheads. And they didn't listen to you, and you told them you were going to sit here until they had the right price. That's what you have to do. Seriously, it is so important, because 25 grand is a lot of money to anybody at the end of the day. So you do that, and just bring a big glass of, bottle of wine, or I like whiskey, and just sit there with your sellers until they come out with the right price. So this is what I'm saying you need to do. I think that'd be fun. So when do homes come on the market? Well, in December you could see nothing on the market. Nothing came on the market. Matter of fact, we only placed 1,000 homes on the market this last December, so we were off by about 500. In January, it doubles. In February, it's about the same, and then it starts ramping up until we get to May. May is the #1 month for homes coming on the market. This is the average prior to COVID. But this awesome couple with their family, they have no room in their house. They have to go out on their porch all the time. So they want to move, but man, they love their mortgage rate. And that's, 60%, 40% of all Californians actually own their home free and clear. The other 60% have incredible interest rates. They're hunkering down. They're not going to move. I refer to it also as the golden handcuffs. You've heard different things for it. I called it hunkering down. And California, 89% of everybody with loans has an interest rate of 5% or lower. 71% has an interest rate at 4% or lower, and 29% have an interest rate at 3% or lower. Who in this room has an interest rate of less than 3%? Holy crap, that is more than 29%. You see, this is a problem. And you guys aren't moving. And you guys are bragging to all of your friends how incredible your interest rate is. Seriously. My hairstylist, I finally convinced him to purchase, and he has a 2.65% interest rate. And he thinks he's incredible. And he still charges me for his haircuts. So the Orange County new listing on a monthly basis. You can see the orange line was actually this last year. It is muted compared. This is every month placing homes on the market. So you can see definitely not a lot of homes were placed on the market last year compared to all other years. This was the COVID lockdowns. So that was COVID lockdowns. We placed 50% fewer homes on the market then. But this right here was the month of January. I only have one data point. That was the month of January. So we didn't place a lot of homes on the market in January everywhere in Southern California. And once again, San Diego's worse. I don't know why I keep saying that, but they keep doing things like that. But the number of for sale signs compared to the 3-year average prior to COVID, because we placed about the same number on for like ever. And in 2020, we placed 5% fewer homes on the market, 1,800 fewer. 2021, 6%. 2,300 homes fewer. In 2022, last year, we placed 8,500 fewer sellers. There were fewer sellers that came on the market, missing 22% of our entire marketplace. They didn't list their homes. This is hunkering down. And then in the month of January, it was off by 45%, missing 1,375 in the month of January alone. You can go ahead. I just have to repeat them, I was told.
Everybody has these great rates. And is it really only first-time home buyers that are like, oh, okay, fine, I'll jump in, but there's nothing to buy?
No, it just depends. I heard a story of somebody that hated their neighbor, and they said, I really don't care what I'm going to do. I hate my neighbor so much, I want to move. And so, what's that?
Just less numbers. If
Yeah.
are coming from a financial standpoint other than like, I have to, or I just feel like it.
Yeah, you know what? So who's going to move? That's the question. But really, ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes to a point where if you have all these people that aren't doing it after a while, that after a while, they're going to want to do something, and they'll figure out a way. They're both making more money. They know that they can cash out, do really well. They're just going to have to pay more on a monthly basis, and they could probably refinance down the road. This is what they're going to think after a while. They're all coming to this conclusion all by themselves, which is why we're seeing more demand right now today. It's not just first-time home buyers, but thank goodness first-time home buyers in VA, they can finally purchase something. I talked to a lender that does nothing but VA, and he couldn't get anything accepted. And now he just last month had the pick between two homes, both willing to pay their VA, and he got to pick which one he wanted to purchase. Of course, he has a little bit of a higher rate, but he thinks he can refinance down the road. So exactly to my point. So when are we going to see more listings? When interest rates fall enough. We have to close the gap. They have to fall to about 5.5% is where that threshold is, where there's, I'm going to do it. That type of thing. You're going to get more people to do it. Not you knuckleheads with 3% less interest rates. You guys aren't moving. But there's a lot of people in the fours that will say, yeah, you know what, I'm at 4.25%, I can make a move. That type of thing. It won't be that big of a deal. So, but we do need interest rates to fall below to about 5.5%. Is what we're showing. So we have a very, very low demand. By the way, our demand, I don't talk about it because I don't want people thinking that we're going into a great recession. It is great recession demand that we're dealing with right now. That's why it feels so sluggish. It's just matched up against nothing on the market. Way different. And a whole bunch of homeowners that can actually make their payment. They didn't have to fog a mirror or anything like that. They have good credit scores. They had to qualify since Dodd-Frank. It's a way different system. So that's why I don't really bring up, this is just as bad as the Great Recession. So I sometimes will say it in the midst of my reports, but it's not like I'm going to talk about it that much in public or to newspapers. So this is the median detached price of a home by CAR every single month. I'm not a fan of medians, but I'm going to use theirs because it just jumps all over the place. But so do interest rates. So I'm plugging in the median at the time for that month and the interest rate for that particular month, and I come up with a payment. This is the payment. And you can see payments were about the same from 2018 all the way till the first few months of 2021. Then all of a sudden values started going up and interest rates went up just a tiny bit in 2021. Values are going up so fast that you can see, then we got to 2022 that here we are. We were used to, the top over here was about $3,900 per month. And in October, we hit $6,905 per month for the median detached house. For a minute there, when it was above like 7.35%, it was like $7,100 per month for the median detached house. And now it's at 6.46. It's now at 64.11. I had to do this because we're higher. When we were at 5.99% last week, I was able to show that it was $1,000 a month cheaper. That's why we need to be down at 5.5%. 5.5% is like this magic number. It gets us close enough to 5. Everybody thinks 5. 5 is good. 5 is good. Everybody is out there thinking 5 is great. So that's where they really want to be. At 5.5, they can get to pretty close to 5. So rates impact on affordability. So at 7% with 10% down, you're looking at $4,000 per month payment. You're looking at a $668,000 house at 7%. Now we're looking at a $703,000 house. Last week we were looking at a $741,000 house. Do you see what happens when these rates fluctuate? When we get to 5.5, you're now going to be looking at a $782,000 house. All of a sudden, your buying power goes up. Thank goodness it's been long enough, because the buyers of yesteryear, back in January, were looking at $1 million house. So when we went from $1 million to $667,000, that's why our market seized. Now we're going the right direction. So know that I'm seeing some little green shoots. I was showing cracks last year, so I love my little green shoots. Orange County demand, this is the last 30 days worth of escrow activity. This is what happened in the last couple weeks. From mid-January to the start of February, it went up 38%, up 361 homes, pending sales for a 30-day period, 1,300. We were below 1,000, which is just ridiculous. Now we're at 1,300. And last year we were at 1,683, 29% more, 383 extra pending sales. 3-year average is 2,083, which is 60% higher than where we are right now. And today we're at 1,434, which is up another 10% from last Thursday. So it's continuing to go up. It's going up. It normally does, even in slower years. We're adding more fuel to the fire. We're going to bounce off of that really slow October, November, December, and we're doing transactions. And then what's it going to do? Well, it's going to continue to go up, and then I believe it's going to go there. And then we're going to thread the needle in between there. Now, if we get too robust of an economy and they have to jack up interest rates, I'm just going to show you what could possibly happen. It could follow the 2022 line, which is not what we want to have happen. It's most likely going to do this. And when it does this, we're going to have a not as good of a year for the first half of the year and a much better year the second half of the year compared to last year. So that's most likely the direction that we're going. That is definitely where I'm heavily leaning. I give it a 60% chance of that happening. So, what is the speed of the market? So this is the expected market time. And once again, everybody in all the rest of Southern California just sees here over. So they only see those little Himalayas over there. They miss this, which is fun. This is the mag truck I talked to you about. It's coming straight at you. When you have over 200-day expected market time, it distorts my whole entire thing. The rest of all the other counties, they look pretty because you can see what's going on. You can't see what's going on over there on the right-hand side because we have this. In 2007, we hit over 400-day expected market time for all of Orange County. Things didn't sell at all. So you had to reduce it by $30,000 from the last comp just to go into escrow, or $50,000. And that's what was happening. And who was doing it the most? Banks. Banks were doing it, short sales were doing it, and all that. They were in charge of everything. So, but I'm seeing another green shoot. There it is. And here we go. Expected market time year over year. See this drop? That's pretty huge. It's following 2020. We're not going to follow this like 2020. That was the pandemic shutdown. So February 2nd, we were at 56 days. That's down. That went down 25 days in a 2-week period of time. So that's how hot it got from middle of January to the start of February. All of a sudden, at the start of February, it felt a lot different than it did at the start of January, that's for sure. And then last year, we were at 23 days. Know that anything below 40 is absolutely like a punk of a market. It's ridiculous. 40 days and less I call insane, unhealthy, call it what you want. It was not a way that we want to do business ever again. The problem is San Diego just hit 39-day expected market time today. So yeah, and there's a Forbes article that came out that said that San Diego was supposed to tank, one of the top 5 markets to tank the most in the country. And right now they are the hottest of the 5 Southern California counties I follow, hotter also than Vegas I follow, Phoenix, as well as Sacramento and the Bay Area. It is by far the hottest market. So I don't know what they were talking about. I had a lot of agents actually reach out to me about that article. The 3-year average prior to COVID is 70 days, yet we were at 56. Well, guess what? I just showed you what happened today. That was as of last Thursday. Right now, we're at 49 days. We're making our way down towards 40, and I am ticked. I am ticked because you guys already heard what the Fed's saying will happen if this gets too hot. The only way that they can combat this, if it gets too hot, Wall Street does too well or real estate market does too well, because they're using real estate as one of the major vehicles to obtain what they want in the economy. And if we get too hot, they're going to turn up the heat again and interest rates can go higher. So we're just not hoping. I'm hoping that we get things slow down, interest rates fall, and we get more sellers that come on the market. This is all because we do not have enough homeowners coming on the market right now. So, and I need to talk to the Fed. Seriously. I need to have a sit down with them because they have no idea how bad the hunkering down problem is. And because I'm doing this data that I think like nobody else does. And I'm like doing this data going, man, doesn't make sense. They need to know about this stuff.
Get on your bathroom, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I had one. This is the expected market time. This is where we're at. It's going down, and we're making our way towards that 40 days. I'm thinking that it's going to go like this. Now, if they start getting upset and they start ratcheting up the short-term interest rate, we can get something like that. I don't think that that's going to happen. I only think that that's like a 15% chance of that kind of thing happening. But I just bring it up just so you know that we're very interest rate driven. And Newport Beach, last year was at 45 days. Today is at 135. Know that this is way better than where we were at the beginning of the year. This is already improving, and this was as of last Thursday. Corona Del Mar went from 51 to 244 days. Newport Coast went from 70 to 195. Costa Mesa from 26 to 60. Huntington Beach from 28 to 61. Irvine from 18 to 42. Tustin from 12 to 61. And Mission Viejo from 23 to 46. You guys get it, right? It's not as hot as last year, but it's definitely, when I'm looking at this is definitely not as slow as where we were in December and the first couple weeks of January. This has totally changed. So home values. I think I'm pretty convincingly showed you that we're not going to crash. I don't need to go in through all the weeds and go through all the different slides. I've been doing it since we went into COVID. Everybody continuously talks about a crash. Every time that anything slows down, they talk crash. It's not going to crash. We need inventory. We don't have it. And this national delinquency rate, so I had somebody say that, we have a lot of people that are now working with asset management companies. Please stop talking like that. It's really beginning to bother me. Because over here on the right-hand side, you can see that's the national delinquency rate. It's gone up a little bit. Why has it gone up a little bit? Because we're going from absolutely nothing. We're still at decades low. We haven't even made our way back up to the delinquency rate of where we were prior to COVID. And that's going to take time, which is all the way up here. You draw a line across. We're making our way up there. We still need to go a little bit higher. Can we get there this year? Probably. Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of people that purchased last year that are actually upside down in their homes because they purchased homes, frothy prices, and I told them, do not overpay, do not pay above their asking price, and yet they did. Lots of people did. And they got in trouble for doing that. So this is distress listing. I'm actually showing you my black bar on this one. This is on to the right is what everybody else gets to see, and they don't get to see that. This is the number of properties that are foreclosures or short sales across Orange County. There are 7. That's it, 7. So when you have a client that's asking for a short sale and foreclosure, say, I no longer want to work with you. If you can actually say, yeah, there aren't any. And if they say, no, well, that's what I want to buy, then you kick them to the curb because they're not going to find any. Because there are 7. Prior to COVID, we had 38 in January. If I go back to 2019, it's like 60. Still nothing. Because over here we had 6,000. And this 6,000 that we had over here, this was in 2008. Know that this was more than 1/3 of the entire homes available on the market. Wow. And it was 2/3 of all pending activity though. Short sales and foreclosures, even though they made a smaller portion because they all went on the market and instantly went into escrow. A lot of them did. They sold really fast. So our market was driven and controlled by banks. It's not like that and won't be like that at all this time. We're not over leveraged. We have strong credit. Homeowners across the United States collectively, and they have good jobs. They're not going anywhere. And you hear about all the layoffs in Silicon Valley, and they're only 0.3% of the entire labor force, and they're not going to the unemployment lines because they're finding a job within minutes someplace else that needs somebody that has their job skills that they couldn't get before because they wanted to work for those companies. Like the Amazons and everybody else. Now they got to go work for Jerry Jones Barbershop and do their internet for them. Seriously. But they get a job right away. And we are really in what is referred to as a hot seller's market. I actually had to pull all of that out of my reports because the model is broken. not just it's the model. Supply and demand is broken. It's not behaving the way it's supposed to behave. And there's a tug of war between buyers and sellers. And buyers were kind of winning, but now that there are fewer sellers, now it's kind of like a tug of war where I don't think we're going to do much in values right now today until I see a change. Right now, we're sitting right now today in the 40s. I'm not thinking that prices are coming down. Sorry, buyers. But the buyers that do remain, still, with these higher interest rates, they're not going to overpay. Nobody wants to do what happened in 2022. They're just not going to pay $50,000, $75,000, $100,000. And if they do in this market, God bless them, because that's wrong. If they didn't learn from these last people that are underwater, then seriously, they need some help. So, but it's kind of behaving like a buyer's market. I told you it's kind of like balanced now. It's kind of hard to really determine exactly what's going on in your neck of the woods. You'll know better than I will. Collectively, as a county, it's more balanced. It might still be a little bit of a buyer's market where we have pressure on values to come down just because of high interest rates. And you're thinking, why is that, Stephen? So I'm going to give you an economics lesson. Above this purple line is an inventory of less than 6 months. Below this purple line is inventory of higher than 6 months. The blue line to the left is values going down. Blue line to the right is values going up. So when we have less than a 6-month inventory, values have always gone up. And when we have more than a 6-month inventory, values have almost always gone down, not all the time. Except for this last year. Something new happened, which we had never seen before, and that's because lots of new stuff came out of COVID. And this is, that was May, June, July, August, September, October, November are all in there. We have less than a 6-month inventory, yet we have values going down. So we can't really tell you how hot the market is based upon what we're seeing because interest rates are so high that it's messing with the data. So in order for that to go away and for these black triangles to get back over to that green quadrant over there with less than a 6-month inventory, we need interest rates to fall. Guess where I think that it need to fall to? 5.5%. You guys have all been paying attention. Very good. Very good students. Because that was my slide for students, by the way. Market overview. So the share of homes sold above asking price in the month of December, because they haven't released January yet, is normal. There's only 20.6% of all closed sales in the month of December closed above their asking price. That is called normal. Last year we had 72.8%, an all-time record in the month of May. That is totally abnormal, and it made me sick. It really did. That's very unhealthy. We should never have a market like that. Prior to COVID, we never had it higher than 40%. We hit above 70% for 3 months in 2021. It's just not normal and very unhealthy. 20.6, totally normal. Get these to your clients. They're going to go, well, 1 out of 5 got above. Yeah, because they probably started right at where they should start or maybe even a little bit less. And then got a couple multiple offers and went above. So the sales to list price ratio, also what I would refer to as normal, below 100%. It was above 100% for 2 years. Now it's below 100%. That's normal. For the month of December, 96.2% sales to list price ratio. And this is Case Shiller. They just released November a couple weeks ago. And November, they use 3 months. It's rolling. It's September, October, November. It's so dated, but I love this. It's the only statistic. It's better than median. I absolutely love this, but it's so dated, I can't bring it to you. I can't even bring to you what's going to happen year over year until like April. That'll give you a true flavor of where we ended up, which I think is going to be 0% year over year. We will have erased all of 2022 by the time we get to the statistics for January 1st. So we're at up 7.7% for the whole entire country. In LA from May to November, it was down 7%. So we were going down, and that was that pressure that I told you with higher interest rates, even though we have low inventory. Year over year, we're actually up 4%. But like I said, now when they get to December, which they're going to release, that's actually a rolling October, November, December. The real flavor of that is not going to be released until about April, like what I said. So the closed sales, man, that was low. October, November, December was really, really low as far as closed sales were concerned. We did not close a lot of sales. It was very low, and we're bouncing from that. Just know that. 2022 was off 31% compared to 2020 compared to 2021. But that was the biggest year since 2005. So let's compare it to other years. Compared to 2020, it was off 20%. Compared to 2019, it was off 16%. And compared to 2018, it was off 14%. So not quite as bad, but we really finished off the year really slow. But there is this bounce that I talked about. We're going to kind of feel it. We're going to see it in the numbers a little bit. We're really going to see it by the end of the year. We're just not going to stay at that really low level that we were at October, November, December, which is good news. Luxury is 2 million plus. That's the top 10% of the market of all of Orange County. And that's 2 million plus on the right-hand side. Where I'm pointing to is where the most recent closed sales was for the month of December. And that was the last couple months, November and December. You could see pretty low, but still beating 2019. As a matter of fact, 2022 is only off 14% compared to 2021, which is an all-time record. And 2020 was the prior all-time record for 2 million plus properties, and we were 57% more than that. So we're still doing a lot of transactions above $2 million. So know that that's occurring. But we're supposed to slow down in luxury market. Luxury markets are not supposed to sell instantaneously. San Diego County is getting back to that place where their luxury market's starting to sell a little bit more rapidly, which is not normal. You're supposed to take a 6-month listing contract. But year-over-year luxury, at least in Orange County and some other counties, are still behaving appropriately. And that's the inventory's at 592, up 210 from last year. Demand is at 124, down 93 compared to last year. And expected market time's at 143 versus 53 days last year. This is ridiculous. 53 is not the expectations that anybody that's putting their homes on the market at $5 million should ever have. And I know the market's changed when I did a presentation for some people in Corona Del Mar, and there was 2 people in the office that said that they reduced an asking price from 9 million to 5 million. So I'm going to say arbitrary. They needed a bottle of wine or some whiskey to properly price that thing, because what a waste of everybody's time. But that was luxury. They were just throwing whatever they could at it, and they were getting it. It was ridiculous. And that's what happens with high roller type of stuff, but it was dumb. And now it's fixing itself. And if it doesn't fix itself right now, eventually it will fix itself. But right now it's kind of fixing itself with a 143-day expected market time, but know that that's starting to come down.